Hello everyone, it's Full Shock replay review for our boy Icarus, who is right here, the Tan Cortex Commander. But before we talk about his game, let's just talk about Swirly Rock in general. Swirly Rock is an AV8 map. It is a Coombe Valley variant. 6 frontline on each side and then 2 in back. So air spawn is traditionally here, tech spawn is traditionally here. It's a pretty rich tech spawn. A lot of times you shouldn't need to pay your techer because he ends up with 9 max if he takes them all. And lanes are relatively straightforward. Middle is just a huge war zone, kind of similar to like bottom DSD. The carry spots for Swirly Rock traditionally are up top, right up here where red and blue are, which is probably why red and blue spawn there. The reasons for that is it's a little bit more of an isolated 1v1. The other players are kind of more far removed from them. The other thing too is that if one player can break the other player, you're going to immediately force the opposing eco to make units, which means that your eco player, all things being equal, should be able to come out ahead and then counter with more powerful units and win the game. Or if you just, if you're a good player, you can just roll these people and then go roll their eco player before their eco can even come online. So that's one of the more common carry lanes. The other lane that is super important is the lane between yellow, who is Rage, and purple, who is Ras. And it's important for a few reasons. One, it's a mountain lane, and so it's one of those lanes where whoever gets here first and establishes sort of like area control is really hard to kind of push away, because if they just have like thugs on the high ground here when you're trying to come up, they have increased range, and it's just, rockets are really annoying when they're shooting uphill, so it's just really hard to kick them off. The second reason why is not only is this important to get here first, but once someone holds it, they have all the benefits of, especially in T2, they can just like put a rattlesnake right here, and the rattlesnake hits like half of middle, or like a rattlesnake down here, and it hits like all of that, and it's just misery. And then also obviously the geo for just having more energy, which is nice. The other problem is if someone is holding this lane, it makes it really hard for the lanes next to it to push anywhere. For example, if brown is pushed up to here, but they don't own the thing, it becomes scary for him to push any farther, because if purple is up here and brown's army goes this way, purple can just raid, right? He can just do full backline raids and just do a bunch of damage, because yellow will probably be trying to fight him here holding anything else. The last part of Coombe of Swirly Rock that's really important is it has insane reclaim. It's got like 4,000 metal. So yeah, it's got 4.3k metal, and it's got 172,000 energy. And the metal are like these little like yellow and orange. These are the metal. So it's really common to start bots, and it's something that you want to do is try to contest all the reclaim. So there's reclaim here, and then most of the reclaim is along middle. So you've got some here, you've got some here, these ones here, and then like up underneath the cliffs right here, there's some, and there's some here. So it's really common, and it's often beneficial for you to do a bot start that's something like 1 res bot and then 5 ticks, or 1 res bot and like 3 grunts or something, because you want to get out here and you want to contest this metal. The other thing that can be a little annoying in this map is that a bunch of the mexes that are farther back are only like 2.0 mexes. If you see these, but the mexes in the mid that you want to contest are 3.4s. So it becomes really important to try to hold mexes on this map. I mean, it's important on every map, but just be aware that mid mexes are worth more. So every mid mex you lose kind of makes things become even more difficult and a little bit more concerning. Anyway, with that aside, let's get into our boy Icarus. All right, so standard front spawn here. I like this. You're gonna go Mex. Oh, so this is like the most minor of inefficiencies, and your team was probably excited because you overflowed some E into them. But try not to put your solar on the plant, because you're gonna have to eat it, and so you lose a little bit of time. So drop that, and then you can put your LLT behind it there, right? LLT isn't required back here. In my opinion, your lab is super close and you should have units. So I don't necessarily think it's worth it for you to drop an LLT here because you're just going to delay your lab. And on a map where fighting for reclaim is important, it sounds cliche, but every second matters. So like the 7 seconds you spend building an LLT with your commander means that there's 7 seconds that someone else's Lazarus or Grave Robber is up here and they're eating rocks. All right, so you're gonna walk forward and drop your second max, and then, ooh, okay. If you're gonna bot lab, you only need 65 E and your commander makes 25, which means you only need these 3. You only need these 2 and then your commander. You don't need this 3rd one. See how you're just overflowing energy? The better way and more efficient way to do this is build the lab and then queue the solar after, because Cortex labs have like a 2.5 second spin up time. And so what you do is you build the lab and then you queue the solar right here. And then as soon as the lab finishes, you build the solar. And then once the first unit starts, then you go back and you boost the unit until you run out of energy. And then you go back and you build the solar. So your commander is kind of like back and forth, boosting and building the solar as you run out of E. And that's a much more efficient start, because right now, like, your teammates love you, but you don't need that much energy. And okay, so this is map specific, but it's also like a thing really for any reclaim map. And for any reclaim map that has a good amount of especially metal reclaim that you want to contest, you actually don't want to open con. You want to open like Grave Robber and Grunts. And here I would probably open like 1 grave and then 3 to 5 grunts, and then another grave. And your first grave is going to be on a rock mission, right? He's going to run here and try to take the contested rocks, and then you can have a grunt scout this way, and if there's units there and you can't contest that one, then he can just go and like eat these, you know, eat all the other ones along the way. And then just have your grunts protect him. And then the second one is going to be eating the trees. So I'm pretty sure Swirly Rock doesn't have any weird variable plants. Generally speaking, when you're eating any plants, it's going to be at like 57 to 58 energy a second. Some maps like Forge have weird reclaim values for some reason, and so things are different. So see how long it took your lab to start making that? That's when you would want to drop that other solar and then go back and forth. So to give you an idea, right, that's what Red did. Red did a one resbot and then 5 tick open. And it looks like Blue did something similar. Blue went like pawn, resbot, pawn. And that's because you want to eat all this reclaim as soon as possible. And see, he's going to go and go for the contested reclaim first, which is super important to do. That's what you want to try to do. So he's going to come out. And all right, so you do get a resbot, you just get your resbot a little late. So I would say open res, and instead this metal is going to be here the whole time, right? You don't need to go get this first. You want to go get the contested metal, because we don't know when this metal is going to be gone, right? Red has the right idea, because up here he's like, oh, this is on their side of the map, but no one's contesting me for it. All this metal is mine. And so that's what you want to be doing. Instead of eating those, you want to go and eat the rocks over here and have some grunts with support. So grunts coming out, and you can probably send them to the front line, which is nice. Ooh, he's got issues. Struggling a little bit on E, and then you can go. You're gonna go help your ally, which is nice. Because comm walking is important here, I probably would just drop granted, you haven't seen what's here, but I probably, after a few grunts, we have 7 grunts, I probably drop a con, boost it, and then immediately walk my commander. Because once you start taking more mexes, or like until you take more mexes, you're not gonna have the BP to burn through all your metal anyway. like, because you just won't have the income for it. So it makes way more sense for you to start walking your commander forward, because if you can get to like right here ish, you can secure this mex and you can deny that mex. You don't even need to try to get it, but just if you think about it numerically, it's such a huge advantage for you, because if you can pork here, you can hold this mex, right? You can hold this mex and you can kind of hold this area, which enables geo for you, which is absolutely massive, right? Because geo is such a great ease source, especially on a map that, yeah, it has good reclaim early, but once you burn through this reclaim, wind is kind of shit, so you'd be stuck on solars, right? And you'll have to do the basic, like, you build 250 energy worth of solars, and you have to kind of micro the E2 solars, build a solar, E2 solars, build a solar, which, you know, I mean, it's not like a big deal, but it's nice to just have the geo. And so if you can get here with your calm as soon as possible and take these two mexes and then deny that one, you're just in a perfect position to win the game. You get 2v1 is what you said from the replay, but or from the thread. So let's see. Yeah, see, 57 and he's 58. So I think that's why you would want like one or even two, like you'd have one eat all the metal first and then he could start eating the other things. All right, what do we see? We see some rovers, but you've got grunts, so you're happy. You could definitely just go up and be aggressive. You only saw 3 rovers, so I think it makes sense for you to go kind of try to pressure. Oh man. Okay, so I know like part of it is like you just want to hold your lane, you're probably not super comfortable, but that's a great, like, if you come out and you see 3 rovers and nothing else and you have 9 grunts, great time for you to just like keep pushing. Let's see what he actually had. Okay, so he had grunts and he had rovers, and there's one incisor. I think if you ran up here and sniped these before these grunts came up, you potentially could have killed those and then maybe this. But these grunts, you wouldn't have known that these grunts were here, so maybe it wouldn't have worked out. It could have been an OP metal donation. But also, I mean, you don't know if you don't push, so I think you could have come up here and sniped a bunch of these, and if these die, you can totally raid like this, and just imagine the damage. Like if these guys are chasing you, but if you can run through here, you'd snipe that resbot, you'd probably snipe that max. He can get out, I'm gonna guess, like an incisor before you get there, but you'd probably be able to get in here and like kill all sorts of shit, right? You'd have to dodge that LLT, but I'm pretty sure you could get in here and like at least kill those. Maybe you can kill that, but you could probably kill those. I think it'd be worth it. Anyway, back to the task at hand. Whoa, that's not you. All right, your comm walk is late. You got it. You need to comm walk earlier, right? Like you don't even have that much metal, and so you really want to be walking sooner. And you'd have, like, look at how much metal's on the ground here, man. If we took this, it's like 600, 700 metal just waiting. It's just waiting for you, right? And you can totally just run up and grab it. Before you leave, so there's a radar there. Before you leave your base, just as a mental note, on every single map in the game, for the most part, where you're on frontline like this, double check that you guys have radar coverage somewhere. So like he has radar here, but this radar isn't, right? That's not going to be super helpful for a lot of situations. And this guy doesn't have radar. I don't think Rage has radar either. Rage is making a radar here, which will kind of help you. So you probably are going to be fine, but just as a mental check, whenever you leave your base with your commander, see if like, oh, do I need a radar? Should I drop a radar, etc. All right, you see him dropping LLTs, and you make the swap into rocket bots, which is awesome. You keep kind of poking with them, keeping them alive. That's great. You already have a con up front, so you're going to be able to just drop T1 pork and hold it, which is great. So your geo is here. The biggest problem with geos is that they're 13 KE, right? T1 geo. And a lot of times you'll e-stall on them. So before you plan to make a geo, and generally speaking, around 5 minutes, I'd say I always recommend that people just make an e-storage because it's super useful. This map, you're struggling with E a bit, so maybe delay it a bit more. But I think as soon as you can set the front and know you're safe, drop an e-storage and take this geo, because it's just way more efficient E than like anything else you can make. But you see the grunts. Okay, I don't think you need to do anything like you don't need to do anything with these grunts because you have rocket bots coming, right? And rocket bots just shred LLTs. All right, this is good positioning, right? You've got your calm in front of the LLT in case he wants to come up and try to degun you. I would say as soon as you build this, the next most important thing is radar, like back there. Also, gotta eat these rocks, my dude. But good work on your compositioning there, and you got that. And then we've got Rocco's coming. And we got to repair. Okay, dropping another LLT. You're gonna get rushed, so you see that coming. Oh, calm doesn't die though. That is massive. I think probably the better thing to do here, just because you've seen what's here, granted these aren't necessarily the best, but like he's got incisors, you know, that other guy has grunts. I'd consider just dropping like a flame turret and boosting it with your commander instead of going double LLT. Good work on your radar here. What's going on in your base? All right, we're at 250. So in a little bit more, you need to just start making A solars and you need to start eating these. The dreaded radar dot rocket bot fire. Okay, so looking good so far, right? You're pushing him here. You know you're 1v2. You have to be repairing. And also these grunts should be a little bit farther behind. One of the single most important things when you're doing rocket bots is vision. Rocket bots have god-awful LOS, right? They've got 340 LOS. And when they're shooting at radar dots, they miss all the time. And the only way to disable that is to either have pinpointers, which are T2, and you need 3 of them, and then the radar dot will be accurate, or you need direct vision, because when you have direct vision, the rocket bots will just shoot where they are. So like, for example, if we look at this guy, actually that radar dot's pretty accurate, hilariously enough, but that's apparently a bad example. This is a better one, right? Here's the radar dot. These are randomized, right? But like, if all your rockets are shooting here, they all miss because your radar dot's so far off. So the way to get around that is frontline radars, which sound a little crazy, and they can be killed really easily if you're not careful, but like a radar like right here, radars have 680 LOS if you look in the bottom left, so they give you direct vision of stuff, which is awesome. The other thing you can do is you can fight command forward with your rocket bots and just take one grunt, because the grunt has 500 LOS, and run him up. And then when their rocket bots are shooting at you, you can dodge the rockets, right? And they'll all be shooting at your grunt, because a lot of times they'll fight command too, and they shoot at the closest thing when they fight command. So your grunt will accomplish 2 things: giving vision, and then he's like gonna be Neo in the Matrix out here, just like dodging rockets left, right, and center. But that's the important thing. The third thing that is not happening, that is just gonna tilt me, I think, is you're not repairing. You always need to repair. So important. So many games on the front are won and lost literally just by like who has better repair micro, and you can automate it, so it's not super difficult. Perfect, right? So when you aren't shooting at a dot, you hit it and you just kill it right away. And when you are shooting at a dot, you don't land a single shot, right? That's the difference between you have LOS and you don't have LOS. Other thing, just a little, just the rocks, just some rocks right here, just just need to eat all these rocks. So you're pushing these back here. That's awesome. I think you definitely want to try to take this as soon as possible. And then this is one of those situations that can be a little weird because wardens are amazing versus everything in T1 except for T1 vehicle arty. You know he has a VLAB, so you kind of want to drop an HLT, or as used to be called HLTs, an area control laser tower, because it lets your rocket bots out trade and skirmish really well. The problem is that like the counter to it is in the lab that the guy already has, so he just needs to like use his brain for 5 seconds and be like, oh, HLT, I'll make artillery. With that said, you can still make an HLT because it's useful, and then just keep your rocket bots in front of them. And whenever you play bots into vehicles, you just have to have constant aggression, right? So your whole goal is just like, I just want to be aggressive, and if they attack, then I can back up into the LLT forest and into the HLT, the ACLT. The other thing that you want to do is drop pop-ups, right? You want to drop Moz, and then you can drop fake Moz too. Like if you have a couple Moz, then you can also just drop like random wall segments, and then they won't be sure which is which. And you can also just drop like maybe 1 or 2 nanos. And those nanos, when you're doing T1 pork, are great because one, they auto repair, but then also like if you have a pop up here and it's getting shot by shell shockers, they have such awesome damage reduction that just like a nano and your commander can out heal like 5 artillery or 10 artillery shooting your pop up that's closed. It's kind of stupid, even post nerf. Anyway, you have these all on the same hotkey. I would not do that. Keep these back, because keep in mind the missiles, if they're trying to shoot at stuff up here and your grunts go here, the missiles will shoot them in the back, and the last thing you want to do is perfy your own units. And we already talked about your E situation. So in terms of your queue, I would probably at this point do something like 5 rocket bots to 1 grunt and 1 grave robber, because you're definitely going to want to have grunts for LOS, and it's always good to have a little backup force of them. And then you also just want grave robbers because, well, one, there's still more reclaim you want, but then you want them for the res, you know, like so you can res your grunts, and for the repair, because you're going to try to play tempo into vehicles. Perfect. You saw that being built, so you want to go. What? Okay. We saw this being built. You want to go kill it. More importantly, that mech isn't moving. You know that mech is there. Just go kill it. You got to take this mech too. Okay. You kind of have a massive problem here. Jammers, granted it's a core jammer, so it's a little less expensive. They're really E intensive. So if you look right now, you're building, are you building an A solar? No? Yeah, so it's just this and then whatever unit you're making. Oh, and you're making a nano as well. So you're just butchering your E economy right now. If you want to do bursts like that, you kind of need to have a storage. People kind of get confused by storages sometimes, but you always want them for like frontline play and everything else. The other thing is that storages let you overspend for longer periods of time, right? Like, otherwise you just e-stall, but if you have a massive bank, you can run a deficit for longer. So I don't think you need a jammer here yet, because it's not like they're really, like, no one's shooting at you with anything. All you need to do is just go forward and keep doing that. Keep doing what you're doing. I don't think the jammer is useful here at all. I would probably say at this point, just drop like a couple pop-ups, take this, maybe an HLT, and then like a construction turret. And then another great thing to do just here, just for your own mindfulness, is just build a little wall like that, because you run the risk of like them doing a massive grunt run by and just like ruining everything. And if you have a wall there, even with just like one LLT, when they run up, they'll see it and they're like, oh shit, and then they just run back, right? But the one thing that you kind of want to be scared of is that. The other thing you need to be a little bit scared of is you've got this like hole right here, and I don't know if homie's gonna hold it, and you really want this geo. So you can definitely keep pushing and doing stuff here, but you might want to consider like a little bit of pork somewhere up here. Anyway. Go. Get him. Get him. Nice, nice. And see, grunts give you vision. And so then you can fire directly at them. And the rockets are absolutely going to wreck. And your commander, God, your commander needs to be repairing. So this is perfect. This is exactly what you need to do. This is how you win this lane. And then you just want to make sure that you have, all right, and HLT isn't a bad choice. All right, super important here. You have to be repairing. Whistlers are absolute garbage if the enemy is repairing. If the enemy isn't repairing, they can chip down anything from incredible range. But like whistlers they're such low DPS. Like they're a little bit better after the change, but they just don't do that much damage, especially in low numbers, and they can't shoot over each other anymore. So just come up here and repair. If you want to automate it, the easiest thing to do is just like hit repeat, click here, so a move command, and then do an area repair, and then your commander is going to go there. As soon as anyone's hurt, he's going to come up here and repair and repair and repair and repair, and then when everyone's healed, he's just going to go back there, right? And then you can do it with like res bots too. This HLT I think is a cool idea. Before you dropped it, I think you probably just want to drop like a nano so that you have the BP for the repairs and everything else, and then you just need to move it a little bit ahead. Remember when I talked about the initial position where you want to be? You want to be porking like here so that you control this and so that you deny this. This HLT, look at the range on it. It's almost there, right? Like if you had just built it, oops, you can't make one. If you had just built it like here, just a little bit forward, it'd be fully denying that mex, which there isn't a mex on it now, but you always want to deny it. But the big thing here is just you need to be repairing. All we need are repairs. Just repairs and aggression, right? If he's spamming whistlers into you and you're rocket bots and you're repairing, he can do nothing. The problem is you can't just be sitting around here. Okay, nice. Gonna snipe one. My dude, please. Oh, okay. Well, you baited me. If you wall this, the rockets won't hit it, by the way, and it'll be protected versus ticks. So that's something you can do. All right. You have 300E. At this point, you need to start changing all of these into A-solars, because A-solars are just way more effective. So the easiest thing to do is, well, A-solars are a ton of energy, so you have to prepare for that, but you do that just by dropping this. Ideally, you would take this Geo, but that's a little... Normally, this dude's a little bit farther up and you can take the Geo and it's all sunshine and rainbows, but you can't, and you have to play the game you're given. So the easy way to do it is literally like, you just like go reclaim, and then build, and then reclaim, build, reclaim, oops, oh god, can't hit the button, right? And then it just works out easily because like you have all the energy, and then all you're doing is converting the metal from lower efficiency to higher efficiency, because A-solars are 75 energy for 370 metal, and 2 solars are 300 for 70. So like, I don't know if anyone has 2200 worth metal worth of, no, they don't. Well, anyway, you just want to start doing that process, and all you're doing is really utilizing your cons BP. And so you just basically take the same amount of metal, but you just get more energy out of it. And there's not an easy way to automate it, but you can do a long queue where you're just eating it, and then it works out relatively well. Anyway, please repair. The other thing is it's like 8 minutes, so you definitely want to pay homie, and he doesn't necessarily look like he knows what he's doing. So this might be a game where you want to buy a transport. Generally around like 6 to 8 minutes, always look at your tech and just be like, hey, can I buy a T2? Here, you definitely want to get a transport, and then you want to fly the transport up, buy the T2. And it also works well because like if you buy a transport and then fly it up here and park it right here, even if he wants to eat his lab early, he'll be like, oh, there's a transport here. Okay, fine, pay me and I'll give it to you. But yeah, then you want to get your T2, fly it down, and then start upping all this stuff. This is a map where T2 pork is just like insane value. Here, watch. If you can get one and then tap some of these mexes, or even just relatively early come up and drop a rattle. Like you could drop a rattle here. It's kind of hard to see, but look at that. If you drop a rattle there, you're denying 3 mexes, and you're gonna win your opponent's lane for him, and you're gonna win your lane, which is pretty sweet. Granted, you're weak because you don't own this, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. So yeah, try to get T2 as soon as possible. Anyway, back to the action, as they say. All right, these need to be repaired, and they need to be pressing. If you aren't pressing with them like every few seconds, you're not going to be able to beat vehicles, because the way that bots beat vehicles is through pressure and repair. These poor things are just getting chipped apart, my dude. Okay, nice. I like the wall. See, it's protecting there, and the HLT is definitely doing a little bit of work. That's kind of concerning. So this is a situation where if you have a few grunts in your queue, it's nice because you can throw your grunt ball up here, and a lot of times, like, they'll just have radar, right? And they'll see units move up here, and even if it's like 5 grunts or something, sometimes they can tell from the speed, but they'll just be like, oh, there's units here, I can't raid because he knows I'm here and he's ready for me. Because radar dots don't tell you what they are. So sometimes it'll just be like 10 ticks here, and you're like, oh fuck, what are those? I haven't seen them move. I don't know how quick they are. But that's one of the reasons why. The other thing is 15 rocket bots is a lot of rocket bots. You kind of don't want more than this. Like, you don't want to overcommit into T1. So once you're at a level of like 15 rocket bots or so, it makes sense to make other units, right? Like, you kind of want just a massive force of grunts, for example, so you can run through, or maybe you want a couple thugs for like calm killing power, or you just want to like go T2 yourself or do something else, right? So for those situations, I'd say you kind of almost never want more than 15. And here you really need res bots, and you really need to be repairing. I like the pop-ups coming up now. This would definitely help if you had just done like con turret, you know, maybe even just like one con turret to help with repairs. But your commander has to be repairing these. This lane, from everything I've seen, looks easily winnable if you were just repairing and aggressive. Like, look at what's here. These can't fight. Like, if they rush your rocket bots, they just die. All you need to do is just push up. You just need to apply pressure. Just go up and shoot. Yeah. And you need vision, right? Because you're shooting at radar dots right now, and you're kind of missing. Repairs and movement. So if you're moving, shell shockers will never hit you, basically, right? So you want to move up, bait the volley. A lot of times, like, it'll shoot, so you move up, bait the volley, and then you just have to be repairing. If you're repairing, you're completely fine here. And you even have like Veteracy, right? And rocket bots, once they start to get like some experience, repairing them becomes so much easier because they just have more health and they repair much faster. You got okay, I'm not gonna say it again, but like, literally all you need to do to win this lane is repair these and give them a little bit of LOS, and you just kill them. There's like nothing they can do. Yeah, he's gonna dive him in, run into like everything here. OP metal donation. You can eat all of this or res. That's a little concerning. You can eat or res all of this. Like, if you have res bots, you could res a bunch of this stuff and or just eat it and go T2. So here's the situation where if you had a bunch of grunts, you just run at them and kill them, right? Because rocket bots, after, you know, like, you run one grunt like this, and then the rest of the grunts run like that, and they all shoot at the one grunt who's like juking, and then the other grunts just run up and kill him. But that's why you want to have that kind of backup force. It's also nice too, in case like your comm dies or something and you want to have support for that. Okay, what's going on here? All right, so You're going into A Solars. Where is your T2? Okay. So, yeah, he's low on certainty. So he's just a new player. He doesn't really know what he's doing. Unfortunately, you don't have T2. Ideally, at this point, you would have T2. You would have a T2 con and probably a Twitcher. If you'd gotten a Twitcher, you could just straight up frontline rattle and then this whole situation would just be resolved. That's unfortunate, which means you're probably going to have to go T2 yourself. Regardless, you still want to be eating these and converting them into A Solars. Okay, well. This turret is... Oh man, you could be healing this turret too. Just imagine a world with repairs. Yeah, so like none of this stuff can really dive you because you have towers behind it. You just have to keep doing what you're doing and you're completely fine. This guy's kind of an issue because he should just run like this and kill you, but if you had grunts, you'd be fine. And if you LLT'd this and then put some stuff on it, you'd probably be good too. You're gonna V-swap, which I don't hate, actually. I think that's fine. I literally think just resbots and aggression and you win this though, so I'm not really sure how many other ways I can say this. One thing is your core, so you have the god-awful jammer, you don't have OP sneaky peats. You could potentially, let's see, maybe combo this? His commander's here, right? Yeah. So if you pull your army back and you have resbots and grunts and rocket bots and everything else, something that you probably could have done, is your con dead? Oh, no, it's right here. Is, I'm pretty sure, yeah, you could probably jammer like here, and that would give you range to here. So you could drop like 2 E storages so you have enough energy to cloak. You could walk here cloaked so you're invisible. Q self D and just run into his commander. If you could, granted this is like a frozen frame, but you know, you're invisible all the way up to there if the jammer is built and it's there. If you were to die like here with a self D, you basically kill every single thing here and you just swoop in and eat it all, right? And then that'll fund your T2 or anything else. And that forced this guy to come down, but I'm pretty sure you'd be able to eat all of that and you could have just won your lane there. So always think about, you know, when you're in these 2v1 situations, when they group their armies like this, if you can get a jammer and a couple energy storages, you can totally, a lot of these, you can just sneak up and just boom, you know, just combo and just win the lane. It's hard to identify sometimes though, so it's not like something you should really aim for, but that's totally a way that you could have won this lane. But unfortunately, this whole situation is looking dire, as they say. I also love that purple is fighting in 4 lanes somehow, or 3 lanes. So yeah, unfortunately now you're kind of a little bit low and things didn't, oh my god, things didn't go super well. I think your moment to win maybe kind of passed after you got dove there and that stuff happened, but I think you had a couple chances to really win it. The single biggest thing I can say, hilariously enough, just because I've been repeating it, is you just have to pork, or sorry, you don't have to pork, you have to repair. You have to pork and repair. For these, make sure you know, eat, A solar, eat, A solar, eat, A solar, right? And then you can just convert that energy to just better E. Like, does anyone have, he's building A solars. No one else is A solars, so it's harder to do a comparison. Apologies. Anyway, I like your swapped vehicles here. Maybe I probably would have just gone straight brute so that you can man fight all this stuff because they don't have Janus. Why is he tanking the LLTs? Oh my god, did he? Okay, that's fortunate. So you can definitely move back up. But yeah, there's a whole kind of host of issues. I'll let this play out at higher speed. A whole, like, you didn't get T2, you really needed T2. This is a reclaim map, so you have to fight for the reclaim. Like, if you had fought for the reclaim, you just would have had more units and more energy than they did, and so you totally would have been fine. Here the damage is kind of a little bit, you know, the damage is already done, so it's not like you'd be able to do a lot here. Like, if you had a T2 con in the economy, you totally could have just been spamming tigers instead of brutes, or you would have had banisher, tremor, etc. But that's how it goes. So let's speed it up and see if there's any final moments here. Calling for the resign. Honestly, this was the worst game ever. Wow. So you got units, but you're kind of afraid to move anywhere or go anywhere, which happens. You're gonna go T2 yourself, which I like. You're gonna upgrade mexes, and then people get bombed, and then you guys die. So this game definitely kind of spiraled out of control pretty early, and a lot of it, unfortunately, is on your teammates, not on you as much. But just as a quick kind of summary, specific to the 2v1, because I know that's what you were really interested in. When you get to the lane, always try to look at like mexes and figure out like, how can I put myself in a position where I can control multiple mexes and then deny his mex. And I think you did a pretty good job. I think your HLT could have been a little bit more forward. And I think you could have even gotten another con and LLT creeped this way so that you were a little bit more protected, and then taken Geo, because it's just such a better energy source, right? And you can A Geo it later, which is what they did. But when you're in this fight here, whenever you're playing rocket bots, you need three things, right? First, you need LOS, you need vision. So you need like a grunt running in front, or you need a frontline radar, or you need to sneak a cloaked beholder there. The second thing you need is you need to repair. You basically would have won, like in the fight that I was watching, it was like, oh, he's gonna like roll them in their lane, but you didn't, because you just let the whistlers kind of chip away at you. And part of that is an APM thing. You can sort of automate it if you do like the thing where you go like, you know, you repeat, where's the commander? You go repeat, right? And then you click like kind of farther back, and then you do an area repair. And then he'll move, he'll move there. And then when someone's hurt, he comes up here and he just repairs, and then he goes back. But for Rocketbot Micro, it's you really need LOS, you really need to repair. And then the other thing that you need to do is spread your rockets. A lot of times, I didn't actually say this when I was watching it, which I should have, is like a bunch of T1 stuff has AoE. So if your rockets are all, that's an L, not an R. If your rockets are all in a line like this, and they're right next to each other, when the whistler fires, it'll shoot and the AoE will hit 2 rockets. But if you have them spaced more, then if it hits, it'll only hit 1. But the other thing is that a lot of times they shoot, and they're shooting at radar dots, so it just goes between the gaps. So try to think about that. I think you had great ideas for fighting this, and you did a really good job of it. You just didn't execute it quite how it should be executed, and I think that was the real issue. So if you had a couple con turrets to help you pork a little faster and to help with repairs, right, and then like that HLT a little bit more forward, and just tempo with res bots and rocket bots, you could totally have just like crushed both these guys. Anyway, that's it. I hope that was helpful. If you have questions, feel free to ask in the Academy thread, and we will call it there.